Okay, so we have 2 days Rambam Bekius this week, God willing, and then one next week. So I had to pick one topic that I feel like is important to use our seriously made Tשובה for, and this is a kind of I don't know if it's a classic question, but it's problematic whenever I see it. But I haven't worked on it in a while. So the bigger problem, which we're not going to go into, is what is Hilchos Teshuvah Perek Zion. Okay, it's the most random of all the prakim in the sense of the topics he addresses. And I've heard theories about what's included, but basically you have we'll read through the first 3 halachos and then I'll summarize the rest in case you want to think about that on your own. So first, but we're going to focus on halacha gimel, but I want to rev into it. So context: Perek Chamishi was bechira. Perek Shishi was ostensible disproofs of bechira from psukim.
From my memory,
It is, but there's one halacha in there about Deo stuff, and then there's a bunch of other stuff going on also. That's the thing. We're going to focus on. Well, let's see. All right. So he starts off, Hoyel urishus kol adam nesunalo. Since choice is given to man, like we explained in chapter 5, yishtadal ha'adam lasos tshuva. Person should strive to do teshuvah. Velinor kapav mechataav, and to cleanse his hands from his sins. Kadesh yamus v'hu bal tshuva, so that he should die as a bal tshuva. Kadesh yizkei l'chai olam haba, in order that he merit olam haba. Now, we're not going to work on this, clean editor, but this is problematic for many reasons. I mean, first of all, this sounds like interesting, a new idea of why you should do tshuva, because you have bechira, right? But I mean, isn't that I don't know, how's that different?
That doesn't bother me.
Okay, fine.
I feel like you're just adding more to that, what the whole idea.
Yeah, it's a nice segue, but but what is he getting at? But then the bigger questions are, what's the idea of dying as a bal tshuva, which is different than chapter 2. Chapter 2, he argued, do teshuvah before you die, and tshuva gemura is more possible while you're still young, but not an idea of dying as a bal tshuva. Okay, right. But then the most disturbing thing is kadesh yizkei l'chai olam haba.
Right, it sounds like if you don't die as a
right. It sounds like if you don't die as bal tshuva, you're not zocheh olam haba, and even worse, if you want to see here again, I said we're not going to work on this, but in chapter 3, he emphasizes when he goes through the people who do and don't have a chelik on olam haba. So chapter 3. Halacha, in the middle of halacha, looks like, hey, ha-benonim, the people who are benonim, however you want to translate that, imahayim bichlal mechate avonos shalahen shelo hinich tefillin me'olam. So if one of their half avonos was, their half's worth of avonos is that they never put on tefillin, dani also kavi chatav yesh lo chelek olam haba. So they get judged according to their sins and they have a chelek in olam haba. But then he says, v'chi kol ha-risha'im she'avonoseim merubin, even the Rishayim, whose avonos are the majority, danin osam kafi chatosehem, they're judged according to their sins. V'yesh lahem chelek l'olam haba. Shekol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek l'olam haba. Afal pi shechato. Right? All of Israel has a chelek l'olam haba, even though they sinned. Shneimar v'amech kulam tzadikim l'olam yushu aretz. Eretz zo mashal. So your people are all tzadikim. They will inherit the earth. Earth is a mashal. Kolomar eretz chaim, the land of the living. Hui olam haba. That's olam haba. V'chein chasidim mos olam yesh lahem chelek l'olam haba. So that really goes against Perek Shvi'i's implication that you can only get bizochet olam haba if you die as a bal tshuva. And he could have said it if he just meant to maximize your olam haba. He could have said that in many other ways, right? Yeah. Kadesh, shiarbuz chuyos olam haba. I don't know, whatever. Get schar olam haba. Okay, but we're not working on that. Okay, onward. Yeah, leolam. Person should always see himself as though he's inclining towards death. Again, another strange thing. Maybe he'll die in his time, and he'll be found standing with his sins. Okay, he won't die as bal tshuva, he'll die in his sins. Therefore, he should return from his sins immediately. And he should not say, when I get older, I'll do tshuva. Maybe he'll die before he gets old. Yes, in fact, that's what Shelat, I think, says here. He says, no, he doesn't say that here. Someone I read says that he's taking the lashon from Right. Yeah. Good call. But Husha Shlomo Omer b'chachmaso b'chol es yu b'gadach levanim v'shemen al roshcha al yachsar. That's what Shlomo meant when he said, "At all times let your garments be white and let oil not lack from your head." Okay. So again, main question here is, what's the difference between this message and Perek 2? Okay. But now here's the halakha I want to focus on. Okay. Al Tomar, and I want to hear how you formulate the question. I mean, you too, but you seem to indicate that you went through this last year. That
I kind of go through it every year.
Okay, good. So this is me going through this year now. All tomar she'ein ha-teshuva ela mi'averos sheyesh behen ma'aseh. Don't say that teshuva is only from averos that have an action. He means a specific action. Kagon znus v'gezel u'gneva. Okay, znus here presumably sexual violations and robbery and theft. Kishem shetzarich adam la'ashuv me'elu. Just like a person needs to do teshuvah from those, so too a person needs to investigate the bad deos that he has and to do teshuvah from them. Mina ka'as, from anger, mina eva, and from enmity, hatred, mina kina, and from jealousy, mina tacharus, and from competitiveness, mina hitul, and from like foolishness or like frivolity, mina redifus hamamon, and from chasing after money, v'hakavod and kavod, redifus hamachalos. And from chasing after food, I love this. And to do tshuva from other things like them. So the diffus Rambams have the kiyotza behen, which if you read it, it means and chasing after food and other things like food. but the correct girsa has chasing after food and doing tshuva from other things, bad deos like these. It's a minor thing, but it's just a funny, you have to do tshuva from chasing after food and food-like objects, yeah. Anyway, you need to do tshuva from all these things. The elu havonos and these iniquities, kashim ma'osan sheyesh behen ma'aseh. Those are harder to do tshuva from, presumably, or harsher than the ones that have a ma'aseh. Bizman she'adam nishka be'elu, because when a person is steeped in those, kasha hu livrosh, it's difficult to separate. V'chein hu omer, and that's what it means in Yeshayahu, which is funny because he quotes this in the definition of tshuva. Ya'azov rasha darko v'yishav Machshavah Lab. The Rasha should abandon his way, and the man of iniquity his thoughts. Of this halacha, yeah. Let me see if I can just make this smaller. Yeah. Okay. So, what bothers you about this?
Okay, I realize why it wouldn't bother me before.
Okay.
What does it mean? Don't think it only come about like.
Okay. So first of all, this is what's bothered me in years past is what is the havamina, right? Why would you think it's only averos that have ma'aseh? First of all, like there are a bunch of averos that don't have ma'aseh, like lo yelecha lohim achirim al panai, right? Like I definitely would think you need to do tshuva from that. Yeah, Yosef.
What does it mean? Why? I suppose maybe this would be question like why do you have to tshuva some things that aren't avera?
Oh, so you're agreeing with him? Oh no, it's not that they're not averos. That averos that don't have a ma'aseh. Yeah. Meaning. Don't think that tshuva is only on the averos that have a ma'aseh. But what is? Is what a love? So that's my question. So here's my question. So this is another. So the way I formulated the question in past years is there's a mitzvah to say of halakha b'drachav, right? And the Rambam holds that that's the mitzvah. Let's just read it in Hilchos Deios, halacha Perek Aleph halacha at the end, halacha. The paragraph before halacha vav. We are commanded to follow the middle paths. Those are the good and upright paths. As it says, this is what we learn is the explanation of this mitzvah from Chazal. Mahu nikra chanun avtah chanun. Mahu nikra rachum avtah rachum. Mahu nikra kadosh avtah kadosh. Just like he is gracious, you should, just like he's called gracious, so too you should be gracious. Just like he's called merciful, you should be merciful. Just like he's called kadosh, you should be kadosh. That's why the Nevi'im call people, call God by all these nicknames. Why? L'hodia she'elu drachim tovim v'yishayim heim, to teach us that these ways are good and upright. V'chayav adam l'hanhig atzmo behen ulhidamos k'fi kocho, and a person is obligated to conduct himself in them and to resemble them according to his capacity. Yeah.
I mean, I can really make my question even stronger. Like, I don't know what happened. That's what the whole like,
Okay.
Like, don't think it's not gonna apply to that. Like,
Okay.
but yeah, I have it in the law, and then you're not being high off of it.
Okay. So there are two questions here, and this is the point that was new for me this year. In the past, my question was, why does the Rambam need to tell us you need to do tshuva from bad deos? Isn't the halakha bidracha one of taryag? And if you were lax in that, you have to do tshuva on your laxity in that. That's how I had it first. But here's my new question, and I don't know which of the two you're asking. This mitzvah of halakha bidracha requires you to remove your bad deos and to get good deos. Okay, and the question though, so here's how I would put the question. What's the difference between tshuva on bad deos and mitzvahs v'halakha bidrachav? Mitzvahs v'halakha bidrachav means you get rid of your anger, you get rid of your competitiveness, you get rid of your kina. So it's not just a question on like, why do you have to do tshuva on v'halakha bidrachav? It's what is the difference between tshuva on bad deos and v'halakha bidrachav? And the mitzvahs of halakha bidrachav. And I've never had that question divided clearly like that. And it's possible there's a third question in there, but you see the difference between the two questions?
Yeah. I see. Okay. I was thinking a little bit. I was assuming the answer to the second question was that there's no difference.
That there is no difference.
And that
yeah.
I mean, a lot of someone in the product there is the same as using the offer from the bad deos.
Right.
The question is, to me, like, I feel like don't think out like that is that like in terms of true, I didn't do that. I didn't do that in terms of
right. In other words, what you're saying now is forget how we classify things, but why would I ever think that I don't need to change these bad deos?
Let's say I thought I don't have to do on deos. It doesn't matter as long as
exactly. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what this suggests, I'm not saying an answer yet because I don't have an answer. What this suggests is that there is a thing of doing tshuva on bad deos, which is separate from the mitzvah of halakha bidrachav, and I want to know what that is. Right. So I mean, that to me, that's the path that the Rambam is pointing us on.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to support it, I mean, it's clear for anyone who reads the Rambam's Hilchos Teshuvah that tshuva involves more than just like changing your behavior, right? Like there's a whole process of, well, that's what he talks about for the rest of the parak, by the way, right? Which is in case you want to know what the rest of the parak is. Halacha 4 is about, don't think that the Baal Tshuva is distant from tzaddikim, but rather in some ways he's closer. Parak 5 is about how all the Nevi'im command on tshuva and Yisrael is only nigalim because of tshuva. 6 is about how tshuva brings you close to the Shechina. And the next paragraph is about how tshuva brings close those who are far. And then 7 is the ma'alos of tshuva. And then the next paragraph after that is again clean to the Shechina. And then 8 is the personality of the Baal Tshuva. And the last paragraph is the sin of embarrassing Baal Tshuva. So that was my original question that I said we're not answering of what's the unity. But like, another question you can ask is, let's say there's this concept of,
I'm remembering
yeah. In tshuva or? Yeah. That how did you tshuva effectively? That's in chapter 2.
Well, not like what is
Darkei tshuva, you mean?
Yeah.
That's in chapter 2 also. That's chapter 2 4. Like midarkei tshuva lios hashav tzok tamid lifnei Hashem b'v'chi v'sachanunim v'osit tzedakah k'vi kocho mizraka karbi min hadavar shechadabo u'mishane shemo. That's what you're thinking of? I mean, this is some meisim, right? Changing your name, giving tzedakah, being golem makomo. Yeah. So, and another question, which is a side question, but perhaps relevant, is let's say there is this concept of tshuva on bad deos, right? Where should he put that tshuva in Hilchos Teshuvah? Like, where should he talk about that? What do you think? What parak? Yeah, second parak, right? Because second parak is where he talks about what teshuvah is. But so why does he delay it? And why does he delay it all the way until after the Bechira discussion? Because what's the only other thing after this is chapter 8 is about Schar and Olam Haba. Chapter 9 is about Brachos and Klalos, and chapter 10 is about Oved Meir and Oved Me'ava. So we're long past talking about tshuva stuff. In other words, 1 is vidui, 2 is tshuva, 3 is judging the world, and 4 is the ma'akvin of tshuva. So put it somewhere over there, most likely in chapter 2. And it's only one paragraph too, like, and 5 and 6 is Bechira stuff. Yeah. So it sounds like the idea of Bechira is necessary to be able to present this idea.
Yeah. Unless you have a solid understanding that you have a mirror.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to involve these things. And you're the guy or whatever. So I don't know, it's not meaning positive. Whatever, it's not the same level of I don't even think about it because you have to have I think it was image thing. You have to have a certain that Teshuvah works.
Yeah.
No,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good approach. That's a fruitful approach. Yeah. Okay, I hear that. Let's see if we can develop it.
Why different
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because you would think Bechira is the preface of the premise of all of them. Yeah. Right. Okay. Good. Got what to work on. But I think it's a step forward in terms of questioning that Rambam that I never thought of it in that way before. I was muddling it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. Good.